Good morning, everyone. So I have a question for you this morning. Who are you? Now, I'm not taking attendance, but it's a good question. It's a question worth pondering. It's a question, the answer to which kind of depends on context, depends who's asking. Depending on who's asking, your answer may be, I am a husband or a wife. I'm a father or a mother. I'm a son or a daughter, a brother or a sister. Depending on the context, your answer might be, I am a friend, a co-worker, a boss, or an employee. I think most of us here, maybe even all of us, could answer this question, I am Christian. So the answer to this question, who are you, reveals these categories into which we fall that describe who we are in general terms, based on our relationships. And in the gospel passage we just heard, Pilate poses this question to Jesus, more or less. He says, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus basically says, well, who's asking? Jesus goes on to explain that he's not the traditional earthly king that Pilate would come to expect, would recognize. And Jesus is not only the King of the Jews. He's not a temporal king at all. Jesus Christ is the King of the universe, the eternal King. His kingdom will never end. And today, on this solemnity of Christ the King, we celebrate that fact. And this title, Christ the King, is one of many titles that we have for Jesus. We also know Jesus as the bread of life, as the Word made flesh. We know Jesus as the Good Shepherd, as the Son of God, to name just a few of these titles. And just as the titles by which we are known, Father, Mother, Son, Daughter, reflect who we are according to our relationships, these titles we have for Jesus reflect how we can relate to Jesus. We know we can relate to Jesus as the bread of life here at Mass when we receive Holy Eucharist. We can relate to him as the Word made flesh when we hear or read, reflect on the Gospels. We can relate to him as the Good Shepherd when we follow his command to love God and love neighbor. Relate to him as the Son of God when we pray to him or worship him. And as King of the universe, we can relate to Jesus as that benevolent ruler who provides for all of our spiritual needs, who will judge justly on the last day. But no matter how we relate to Jesus, doesn't change who Jesus is. Jesus is always Jesus. He doesn't compartmentalize. But we are not Jesus, and we have a tendency to compartmentalize. For example, my role as a husband is different than my role as a co-worker. My role as a father is different from my role as a deacon. But what about my role as a Christian? What about your role as a Christian? Do we compartmentalize our Christianity? If I'm honest with myself, I have to admit that, yes, sometimes I do. Any time that I fail to treat another person with love, compassion, and mercy, I am compartmentalizing my Christianity, and I am operating in a compartment that is not very Christ-like. And so how we relate to Jesus doesn't change who Jesus is, but it can and it should change who we are. It should influence our relationships and modify those categories into which we fall. Because as Christians, we are called not to compartmentalize our Christianity, we integrate our Christianity into every aspect of our life. And so, it's not enough to just be a father or a mother, a son or a daughter. We're called to be a Christian father, a Christian mother, a Christian son or a Christian daughter. It's not enough to be just a friend or a coworker. We're called to be a Christian friend or a Christian coworker. So this week for your homework, I invite you to reflect on those various roles that you have in your life, the various ways that others relate to you. Ask yourself, in my daily interactions, how well do I integrate my Christian identity with those other roles? In your daily interactions with family, with friends, with acquaintances, with passersby, is it obvious? Is it obvious that I'm a Christian? If a bystander were observing me in those interactions, that bystander say, "Oh yes, there's a Christian," or would he say, "He's a Christian? Like a Christian." So this week, resolve to integrate your Christianity more fully into every aspect of your life. Ask the Lord for that grace, that clarity, to treat every person whom you encounter with the love, compassion, and mercy of Christ.